Hey, it's Mark Ferguson with Invest for More, and this is a property I bought a few years ago where I had some issues with the county, and they just sent me another letter for a probable cause hearing I may have to go to unless I can fix these issues or schedule a new site plan evaluation in 2 days. So we'll kind of show you the letters they sent me, why they're mad at me again, some history on the property, and part of this was a tenant's fault. I will 100% admit that. And we've talked to this tenant a number of times. And we'll talk about what happened there too. But it's also kind of crazy, all the stuff the county wants you to do in order to own and rent properties. And this is Weld County in Colorado, which is historically a very conservative county. Used to be known as a county that was easy to do business in. It is still a conservative county if you look at how it votes. But the people in the planning and zoning have not made it easy on businesses at all. So this is the property when I first bought it, and this is after we'd cleaned it up. It was a mess. It was just full of cars, parts, junk. I got a really good deal on it because of that, but we spent a ton of money cleaning it up, fixing up the property. But we didn't build anything. We didn't do any major remodels. We didn't do anything that really required building permits, but again, the county is coming after us hard on that too, and kind of crazy what they are asking us to do on that front as well. Now, the first problem started when I bought this property, and we actually got it rented to a diesel mechanic in here, a car detailer in that shop over there on the left, and we had another vacant property to my right, which used to be an event center right before I bought it. Well, we rented it to a church. That was within the zoning regulations. Didn't think it was too big of a deal. Well, I made some YouTube videos talking about that. The county somehow saw my YouTube videos, and even though from what I've heard, they're only supposed to go after property owners if there's complaints, they used my YouTube videos and said I filed a self-complaint against myself, I guess, to say that I rented illegally to the church, and then they started requiring all kinds of stuff from me. The problem started because the previous owner had done a site plan in 2014. And basically the county wants every single property to submit a site plan to them for whatever, for renting, for using, for anything. They want a site plan sent to them, which is very detailed, can take months to complete. It's very expensive to complete. And anytime a tenant changes, they want you to amend that site plan and do the same process over again, which can take months and cost quite a bit of money. And that's how they expect property owners to lease properties. So this site plan in 2014 was for a truck washout facility, and the previous owner never did it. He never built it out. He didn't do some of the stuff required, but he did do some of the stuff required. I bought the property, didn't even know that site plan was there. And then after I made this YouTube video and the county, gave me their warnings and all of that, then they showed me the site plan, all the stuff and things I had to do. So they suggested an engineer I work with, probably a mistake on my part using the engineer they suggested. And we worked with them for a little bit to try and get this figured out. Now they claim there was a French drain that needed to be installed. It was already installed. It was there. We found it. We cleaned it out. We got it ready. They wanted landscaping installed. We did do some of that. We'll show you some of that, some railroad ties and different things, which my engineer said would be acceptable per the county's guidelines. They wanted a building inspector to go through, which we allowed and did, and made repairs after that. And then they wanted crushed asphalt laid down. They wanted grading done. They wanted a small concrete wall done to protect kind of a septic drainage area. And that was about the gist of it. But they're really upset that I'd rented to a church. And so the whole thing was, even though the church was allowed by zoning allowed a church, no questions there. The site plan said only a grocery store could be in that space. And I'm like, that's pretty limiting. Why would you only limit it to a grocery store? And even the engineer's like, I can't believe they limited it to just a grocery store. And it wasn't a grocery store when I bought it. It was an event center before that. And they said, well, that was illegal too. And it's kind of like, well, why didn't you go after the previous owner who also had other illegal, like literally illegal activities going on at the property that the county knew about? Well, they said because nobody complained about it, so they couldn't go after him. But they could go after me, even though no one complained about me either. So eventually the church moved out, and I thought, okay, now we can kind of proceed with this site plan. We'll try and get amended, try and get it fixed. And I said, all right, can we make this broader? Can we say, hey, any tenant can be in here per the zoning guidelines? And the county said no. I'm like, no, okay. They're like, well, how many uses can I have here? How many, what can we do? And they're like, well, we need to know who the tenant's going to be. And I'm like, well, I don't know who the tenant's going to be yet because we haven't rented it yet. We haven't put it up for rent yet. And they said, well, we want the specific use it's going to be. If it's going to be a grocery store, if it's going to be a repair shop, we want that specific use listed, and that's the only use you can have. I'm like, I can't list just a few broad uses. I'm like, nope, it's got to be a specific use for that tenant. And then if that use ever changes, if a tenant ever changes, you have to come to us, do this again, and redo your site plan application or amend the site plan. So I asked him, like, okay, what if we use this for storage? Like, we just store stuff in here. And they're like, well, that's not a current use. It has to be a grocery store. If you want to use it for storage, you've got to change the use to S2, go through the site plan amend process, and then you can use it for storage. And I'm like, are you guys for real? And they're like, that's how it has to be done. So we kind of left the church building vacant because I said, well, I don't know who the tenant's going to be. I can't predict who the tenant's going to be. So I'm guessing, according to what you're telling me, I have to wait to do all this site plan stuff until I find a specific use as a tenant. And they're kind of like, well, yes, technically that's correct. I'm like, okay, then. So I guess we don't do this site plan amend. We don't go through all this until we find a tenant in a specific use. And so that's where we've been the last year and a half or so. Well, then something happened that caused them to send me this probable cause letter that says they could take me to the county board of commissioners and revoke permits and all kinds of threats in there to stop me from renting to people. So here's the property today, and the issue is the tenant right there behind the truck with the pink sign on. Now, we rented to them as a repair shop, mechanic shop, which is allowed under the current use. They had asked me a number of times to have a car dealership. I said, no, you can't have one. It's not allowed. It's not in the site plan. And they said they wanted to rent it. Okay, great, that's fine, but you cannot do a car dealership. And they asked, well, when can we have one? I said, well, I don't know when. I don't know if you can have one. We may do a site plan amendment in the future. There might be that option, but I don't know when. And I will not guarantee or say there ever will be an opportunity to have a car dealership. So I said, if you want to rent it, it needs to be a repair shop. And there's Billy's place. Some people might remember that. Billy was our neighbor who kind of lived there for free and unfortunately passed away a couple years ago. That property sold, and they are cleaning it up a little bit, but not sure what's going to happen with it. So they were here for, a year now, and we're a repair shop, had lots of repair stuff going on, are always working on cars. But then as we drive by now, you can see they definitely had some cars with dates on them that were probably for sale, and a sign up that says fire engine motors or something like that, or car sales. So not helping themselves or the property at all by having cars for sale, which they are not allowed to do. And so that's where this letter came from. And the county emailed me that beforehand as well, saying, hey, you're in violation of the site code, all this stuff. And I said, what's going on? They said, well, because of the car dealership. So we went over there, saw that, posted notices that they cannot sell cars. They're not allowed to. And I guess we'll see if they stop or what's going to happen there, because they are not allowed to do that. And if they keep doing it, the county will probably kick them out of there. And hopefully they don't kick out the other businesses that are in there as well. So here's the letter. It basically says, notice is hereby given. The property identified above is not in compliance with blah, blah, blah. Shops which furnish personal services and merchandise primarily intended for personal, family, or household purposes by the residents. A gasoline service station, car wash, and vehicle service repair establishment, warehousing and transfer facilities, and outdoor storage, loading, and parking areas recorded February 29th, 2016. That was in 2014, but anyway, 2016. So that is actually a much more broad allowed use than they want to give me now. They just want me to say, oh, it's a car wash, and that's it. So they are allowing those uses there, but a car dealership is not one of them. It goes on to say the subject property is in violation of the following development standards, number 3, 4, 18, 19, 20, and 22. So this is where it gets crazy. Number 3, in the event that a portion of the building is proposed to be leased or sold to another party in the future, the applicant shall contact the Department of Planning Services based upon the proposed use and or impacts of the leased portion. The Department of Planning Services may require an amendment to the site plan review permit. So basically they're saying, if you're proposing to sell or lease your property, you have to tell the county, and they might require you to change the site plan, which can take probably 6 months or longer to do. Anytime you want to lease or sell the property. I'm sure the previous owner did that when he sold it to me, right? So in accordance with the Weld County Code, no land, building, or structure shall be changed in use or type of occupancy, developed, erected, constructed, reconstructed, moved, or structurally altered or operated in the commercial zone district until a site plan review has been approved by the Department of Planning Services. So the big thing there is change of use. They're saying because they're selling cars, it's a change of use, because we didn't change anything with construction or moved or anything structurally altered. Another one, building permits will be required for all tenant spaces and any new construction, alteration, or addition to any buildings or structures on the property. It is required that a code analysis be done on the project by a design professional with experience in this area. A building permit application must be completed and 2 complete sets of engineered plans, including engineered foundation plans bearing the wet stamp of a Colorado registered architect or engineer, must be submitted for review. And again, I don't know why they want building permits, because we did not build anything or change anything. But I think that might be stemming because when I asked them for a certain use, when we were looking at different tenants, I said, hey, if this tenant is in the property, do we need to have ADA bathrooms? And of course, their response was, well, we can't tell you that. You have to hire your own architect, have them do code analysis on this property, and then they can tell you if you have to have ADA bathrooms or not. Now, of course, they can come through and tell me after the fact that I am supposed to have ADA bathrooms, right? Because they know the code, but they won't tell you beforehand. The next one is buildings, equipment, and structures shall conform to the requirements of the various building codes adopted at the time of permit application. Again, we had, when we had these issues before, they said, well, you didn't pull permits when you did work. And we did very minimal work. I think the previous owner did quite a bit of work without permits. And we said, okay, fine, come out and look at the property. So they had a building inspector go out. He looked at stuff. He gave us some stuff to do. We did it. And they complained about like one of the doors not having enough egress for a church, but the church moved out. So the church is no longer there. So I'm not sure how that is still an issue. Next one is landscaping materials as indicated in the approved landscape screening plan shall be maintained at all times. Now, I could see their point a little bit here because our previous engineer, who they recommended, said we could put down railroad ties or similar. I don't think you're supposed to use railroad ties anymore because they're toxic, but we used similar materials and some rocks or mulch down, which we did do, but they have since kind of been moved and aren't, most of them are still there, but not all of them. But again, I mean, if you drive down the county road along here, every single property is going to look pretty similar to ours, and I'm wondering if they're going after all of them. And finally, number 2022, all structures, including signs on site, must obtain appropriate building permits. So the business there did put, a hanging banner sign up. I'm guessing that's what they're talking about. They did not get a permit to put that up. All right, so this continues. If the probable cause hearing is scheduled, the purpose of this public hearing will be to review the case number for compliance with the development standards and to determine if the probable cause exists to hold a hearing on revocation of the permits. In order to bring the property into compliance with the current site plan review, any businesses that is not operating within the means of shall be removed from the property. The applicant shall apply for building permits for work that has been done on the property. Landscaping and recycled asphalt shall be installed where delineated on the site plan review map. And the water quality feature concrete wall and outlet structure shall be constructed. If you wish to amend this SPR, to please submit the attached pre-application request form included with this letter no later than April 10th, 2025 to set up a meeting to discuss the process to amend this SPR. If it is determined that the probable cause hearing that there is probable cause that the property is not in compliance with, the Board of County Commissioners will schedule a show cause hearing to consider revocation of the permits. They did email me like 8 days ago about this, but they also mailed this to me. I got it 2 days ago, and they're giving me 2 days from the day it was mailed to me to submit my pre-application request form for this. And I don't know, it said I could also do the other stuff, which a lot of that has been done. We could add more crushed asphalt, recycled asphalt. The concrete wall they wanted is to literally to protect the septic tank kind of in some area, and we laid large timbers there to do that as well. And we were kind of waiting for the engineer to give us, he's supposed to mark out where we could put the concrete wall. Never got that done. So, but those are very simple things. And we've cleaned up the property, done a lot of the other stuff they asked. So here is what they require for their site plan application meeting. So they want this pre-application request form filled out, and easy stuff: name, project description, parcel number, yada yada yada, and then you send it in to them and they'll schedule a meeting. Then you go have a meeting. There's usually like 6 to 8 people from the county there. They all have varying opinions on things, and oftentimes will tell you different things about different subjects. And then I've been to a few of those meetings in this property already. And, some people seem to kind of agree with my stance and where I'm at, and then other people don't. And it's kind of a negotiation to figure out somewhere in the middle on what needs to be done and what happens. But here's the back of this for their questionnaire that comes with it too. Now, like I said, they did email me April 1st, but that email just said, please submit your pre-application request, which because you violated the current site plan, and they attached the current site plan. They did not email me this letter. And it even says on the bottom, I don't know if it says sent via email and certified mail. It was never emailed to me, this probable cause letter. And it's even, it was written April 2nd. It was written after they told me I had to submit a site plan. So they literally have given me instructions on what to do, and I've received it 2 days before they want it. But here is all the stuff they want on their questionnaire. Answer on a separate sheet, of course. Describe your proposal in detail. Describe the existing use of the property. Describe the existing proposed potable water source. Describe the existing proposed sewage disposal system, existing and proposed. Describe existing site layout, building, signs, lights, fencing, screening, landscaping, parking. Describe proposed improvements, building, signs, lights, fencing, screening, etc. Describe the location of any on-site oil and gas facilities, irrigation ditches, pipelines, overhead lines, railroad, etc. Detail the hours and days of operation. Detail the number of full-time and part-time employees proposed to work on site. If shift work is proposed, describe the shift schedule and number of employees per shift. Detail the total number of people who will access the site on a daily and weekly basis: contractors, truck drivers, customers, volunteers, employees, etc. Describe the number and type of vehicles that will access and or be stored on site. Detail known state or federal permits required for your proposed uses and current status. Detail the amount, storage, and containment of fuel, waste, explosives, chemicals on site. Detail potential on-site nuisances, dust, waste, debris, visual, noise, odor, etc. in the proposed mitigation period. Map. Submit a legible draft site plan map. Show and label the following items: property boundary, north arrow and scale, nearest public roads, existing and proposed storage areas, existing and proposed structures, sizes and uses, existing and proposed parking areas, employee customer parking and loading zones, existing and proposed fencing, landscaping, and any other site improvement, existing and proposed access points including types: agricultural, residential, commercial, industrial, oil and gas, limiting site factors, i.e. floodplain, irrigation ditches, oil and gas facilities, railroads, easements, topography, etc., location of the water meter or well, and the on-site wastewater treatment system. So, I've got 2 days to do that. So, who wants to take bets on if I get this done? Yes, we had some of this already because we had to hire the engineer who the county recommended to do all this, because they're pretty much the only ones who know how to get all this done in the correct manner. and submit it to the county, which literally costs thousands of dollars to have them do these. And then you have to pay thousands in fees to the county as well to get that going. And then you have to wait months and months and months for them to approve it and go through it. And that's if you want to do a change of use, which means if you want to have a tenant who goes from a grocery store to a church or from a grocery store to storage, you've got to spend thousands and thousands of dollars and wait months and months in order to do that. Now, I'm very curious how they expect a tenant to wait 6 months after they find a place to rent and not know for sure if the county is going to approve it or allow it. And if they think businesses just like to wait around for that long while things are being approved and changed and all of that, just to have a change of use on a property. And remember, the zoning, there is zoning for these properties, which gives a specific list that you can have, the type of properties, businesses that are allowed in these zoning areas. But that is not good enough for the county. They want a site plan that is more specific and says exactly who that tenant is, who that use is. And from what they've told me, they want a specific use every time you rent and have a tenant in there. Now, is everybody doing that? Of course not. It makes absolutely zero sense for people to do that and wait that long and go through this process. And so for the most part, most property owners don't ever do those things. And in fact, a lot of property owners don't have site plans. They've owned the properties for a while. They aren't going to submit a new site plan to the county. They're going to hold out as long as they can. And the county has come out and said their goal is to get every single property under a site plan and kind of rein in these property owners who won't, abide by their rules and regulations. And gee, I wonder why people don't want to abide by their rules and regulations. And on top of all this, they've been extremely rude to me in emails, in person. I've been polite, tried to work with them. But when they're not working with you, it becomes more and more difficult to want to work with them. Had building inspectors accuse me of lying to them and hiding parts of the property. And I'm like, literally, like, they said that there were certain parts of the property that exist. I'm like, whatever you're describing does not exist here. We can walk through it. And this property is not attached to that property, which they tried to claim at some points. I'm like, no, that's not true. And they said they sent me letters and different things that they never sent me. And I'm like, it's all through email. You forward me that email you sent to me and show me where you sent it to me. And like, well, okay, maybe we didn't send it, but the gist of it was there, or something like that. And that's been over and over the situation on this property. And I'm sure they don't like me making YouTube videos talking about them, but this is their process. If they don't like me making YouTube videos about their process, maybe they should change their process, or maybe they should have a different, law, rules. I don't even think this is a law. This is just rules. Who knows if they made them up or where they got them from. But if they don't like the public and people knowing how they operate, maybe they shouldn't operate that way. And I don't know how I'm going to get any of this done in time based on their guidelines. And part of me kind of wants to go to this hearing and tell the county commissioners what is going on and the processes that the county planning and zoning is making people go through. And I have talked to some of those commissioners before, and they were slightly in shock about what I was going through, especially the fact they said I had self-complained from a YouTube video, and that's how they're going after me. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how this plays out. This was kind of the main reason why I made a members only channel for my YouTube. A lot of people complain, why aren't all the videos for free? I'm like, I post like 6 videos a week for free, and I post a couple a month maybe that are members only because it's sensitive information. It's things that I don't really want public. And some of this, when the county is using my YouTube videos to try and shut me down, are some of the reasons why I did a members only video channel. And I did post about this a little bit ago on my members only channel too, but I decided to make this one public just to share with everybody what is going on. And yeah, here was Billy's place. When it was for sale, or just, was it? Yeah, this is when it was for sale. Weird situation where someone, I think, had bought it from the tax sale, left it vacant for years, let Billy live there for free, had no water, no heat, no utilities, nothing. Billy was kind of a transient, had a lot of dogs, broke into my property once to get water, flooded the place a little bit, but he was a nice guy, had obviously some issues. but we gave him some food, some dog food a couple times. And then eventually I think the state took most of his dogs but one. But he said his bucket list was to have a litter of pit bulls, which he did. And so he got that done at least. And then, unfortunately we don't know what happened exactly, but we just heard that he had passed away, and then they came in, cleaned up the property a little bit, sold it, and then they've cleaned it up a little bit since then now, but I still have no idea what their plans are for it. All right, there's the property. There's the update. I guess we'll see what happens tomorrow. And I've been having to hire lawyers a lot lately for the liquor license, the liquor store. Another issue that we'll talk about here eventually. So I'd really prefer not to involve them again because they're very expensive. And I just prefer not to. So we'll see how it all goes. All right, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. And we'll be back with updates on this, my liquor stores, laundromats, other properties, all coming up soon.